All right. Rams Bengals.
In 1.5 miles, take exit 190A to merge onto I-94 east toward Port Huron.
Jeff, this week, I believe you guys opened Bengals -6 on Sunday night, even though we knew that Joe Burrow had aggravated his calf on that second touchdown pass to T. Higgins. Line goes down to 5 on Monday morning, quickly down to 3.5, got to 2, and last time I checked, I think I saw you guys at Bengals -2.5. How? Go ahead.
Looking at the screen, it looks like it's painted 3 right now.
Painted 3, okay. How do you guys think about handling quarterback injuries? It's such a hard thing to know. For a while there, I had no idea if Joe Burrow was going to play or not. How do you handle booking when so much quarterback uncertainty is out there?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really great question. I mean, I think every situation's different. You know, I think when we hung 6 on the opener, obviously you finished that game versus the Ravens. You know, I don't think a ton of people thought he was going to miss this Monday Night Football game, but, you know, obviously the market thought differently. So, I mean, I think typically, you know, you have to try and play doctor and kind of try to read between the lines and determine, you know, is a quarterback probable? You know, are they 75% plus to play? You know, are they questionable? Is it truly 50-50? Or, you know, are they really doubtful, you know, less than 25%? And I think kind of when you factor all of that stuff in, that based on where you think it is, you know, that is kind of what you're going to hang and where you're going to shade your numbers. So, you know, if you think about, you know, the Bengal game, you know, depending upon what percent, you know, you make him.
Go past this light. Then at the next one, turn right.
Play, in addition to how valuable you believe his backup is, which is Jake Browning, who's never started a game in the NFL, never thrown a pass in the NFL. You know, a lot of that stuff goes into how you shade the number. And if you think the drop-off from Burrow to Browning is, you know, 8 points, and you think he's 50-50 to play, you know, maybe you cut that in half and maybe you hang, you know, 3.5, you know, or 3. And then as you get news, you know, he's, you know, going to be a walkthrough in practice today, or you get some encouraging signs out of that, you know, maybe that number ticks up to 4. Or if you get some doubts, he's not going to miss, you know, he's going to miss practice today fully. And if he doesn't go tomorrow, then he's going to be ruled out. You know, maybe you go 2 or 1 in that scenario.
Yeah, one of the things Davidow said last year, he was like, if it was up to me, I would just not have this game on the board, because this isn't about booking, this isn't about sports, this is about having information.
At the light, turn right onto Dexter Avenue. Then turn left onto West Grand Boulevard.
That Joe Burrow is going to play or he isn't going to play. I feel like maybe that's not an option for you guys because there's so much competition out there, but do you think...
At the light, turn left onto West Grand Boulevard.
Ideally, you would just not hang a number until we know on Burrow, or do you feel like you have to hang a number?
Yeah, I mean, for us, we feel like we have to hang a number. Obviously, we're not taking the limits that we're taking early in the week, as opposed to what we would be taking at post when we know whether, for certainty, you know, he's going to be in or out. So for us, I think...
In 1.9 miles, turn left onto 2nd Avenue.
You know, we gain a lot of insight and information by keeping our line up, still taking 5K limits on the side, and really going through that price discovery process. You know, I think in games where there's a ton of uncertainty, and when I say a ton of uncertainty, nobody knows how good Jake Browning is. Nobody really knows exactly what that drop-off is. So I think for us, by keeping it up, taking bets, you know, we took a hit at 6, we took a hit at 5, we took some bets at 3.5, we went through the 3, and then once we went through that 3, we started to find some resistance. You know, they laid 2, they laid 2.5, and obviously, you know, as I alluded to earlier, you know, the board's now painted 3. There's been some encouraging news, particularly with the game being on Monday, having that extra day, you know, to prepare and things like that, that you've seen the market kind of trend back the other way. So I think from a price discovery process, keeping the game on the board, taking the bets, and understanding what the market thinks of the current situation, we really find that to be very beneficial.
You mentioned limits, and this is not specific to Joe Burrow's situation in the Bengals. Limits rise.
In 1 mile, turn left onto 2nd Avenue.
As the week moves along. I'm always curious what percent of money comes in early versus late, not just in a situation like this, but, Circa is maybe not the most casual book. I think for a book like FanDuel or DraftKings, they're getting a ton of money late on Saturdays and Sundays ahead of the games. I would guess you guys get more early money than other shops, but do you have any idea, or can you share at all what percent of money comes in early versus late?
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much late money on Sundays, particularly when, the limits go to 100,000 a side or 200,000 a side. You can take one bet at those numbers and, you just wash away so much early money, given that the limits are, 20x or 40x, what the openers of 5K on Sunday night were. So I think for us, we probably, and I think really in the market, Saturday, Sunday, you're probably going to see 80 or 90% of the money. I think as a general rule of thumb. And, just talking about the Ram-Bengal game, for a minute, and talking about kind of the quarterbacks and the uncertainty, I think if you look around the market this week, there's a number of different games that have some quarterback uncertainty. We've seen some Seattle money come in the market just before we went on here. I don't think there's a huge drop-off between Bryce Young to Andy Dalton, or very little. And then when you look at the Colts, the drop-off from Anthony Richardson to Gardner Minshew, one could argue it might be, that people have Minshew rated higher than Richardson. Mm-hmm. So I think, in these situations, you have to look at what the market values the backup relative to the starter. And games, where you have Burrow to Browning, that drop-off is going to be much bigger, to a team like the Panthers, where you have a capable veteran backup, who's played before.
I want to get to this Patriots-Jets game. It was one of the lines that surprised me.
Go past this light. Then at the next one, turn left onto 2nd Avenue.
This week, New England minus 2.5 against the Jets in New Jersey. Looks like you guys
turn left.
Opened Patriots minus 2, got out to minus 3 on Monday, back to 2.5 minus 115 on the Patriots side. Now, I mean, I'm a massive Zach Wilson hater. I think the guy is total dust. However, I think the Jets team is good enough to where it's kind of crazy to me, or at least, I don't bet sides.
In 3/4 of a mile, turn left onto Pingree Street.
Stuff like that, but it struck me as crazy that the Patriots, who I don't think are very good, were favored in New York against these Jets. Any thoughts on where the money is or where it might go in this game here between the Patriots and the Jets?
Yeah, I mean, all the talks obviously about Zach Wilson, how Bill Belichick has owned him in his career, how much familiarity he has being in that division, and things like that. So I think from where you see the market trade this game, it's going to be 2.75. You're going to get juice 2.5 or cheap 3s. I think that number is going to yo-yo back and forth. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a solid number at that number. I don't really have an opinion, one way or the other. I think you're going to see people just trade around that key number. And, yeah, I mean, obviously he hasn't performed well in obviously this season in taking over for Rodgers. But it's really, as you alluded to, they got some good pieces on the offensive side of things. They've got a fantastic defense. Salah is a pretty good coach. When you talk about the Patriots, on the other hand, they played a pretty good game versus the Eagles. Obviously came up a little bit short with that late drive, and I think also the Patriots played pretty well against the Dolphins. So I think from a metrics perspective, maybe people view the Patriots a little bit better than their 0-2 record, but it'll be...
Turn left onto Pingree Street. Then the destination is on your left.
Interesting to see what the market thinks of this game, but I think 2.75 is a pretty good number in terms of the range we're going to see this traded as we move towards Sunday.
Speaking of metrics, I think, some things that if you just look at a box score...
The destination is on your left. 629 Pingree Street. Arrived.
Catch would be Hail Mary in the Broncos game that made their stuff look way better than maybe it should have been last week. I mean, the bottom line is that the Broncos have lost 2 straight games at home to the Raiders and the Commanders. Now, when you have a line at 6.5 here, which I believe is where the entire market is at, Dolphins minus 6.5, over Broncos, a lot of people will say, "Oh, Vegas is begging us to take the Dolphins because they're not making it 7; they're making it 6.5." Any thoughts on that narrative out there, and any thoughts on this game in general?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Denver looked good in the first half versus the Commanders. Russ was really cooking in terms of moving the ball downfield. I know Mims had some deep shots, as did Judy. The offense looked better getting Judy back. I know he didn't play week 1. But they obviously completely fell apart, in the second half against a Commanders team that I don't think is particularly good. Obviously people have talked about the tension between, Russ and Sean Payton. So it seems like there's some underlying issues going on there. Denver hasn't looked great on defense, which we thought was probably going to be their calling card coming into the season. So, now they have to travel across country to face a Miami team, that's 2-0, played really well this season, and it has an informed Tua, who, according to some, may or may not be the MVP favorite. I think we haven't seen this number, go to 7. Waddle obviously is in concussion protocol. Questionable as to whether he's going to play. Obviously, you had Tyreek Hill with the DNP yesterday with the ankle injury. I don't think anything of that. I think that was just kind of a veteran rest day. Think he's obviously going to suit up, which I think you guys probably agree as well.
Yeah.
But I think those two things are probably holding that number from going to 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a little surprised to not see that tick up there.
Just to be clear, you guys don't personally hang a 6.5 to get more money on the favorite, right? Because the tons of people I know are like, "Oh man, they're trying to give it to us, Adam. They're trying to make us take the -7 by not putting it to 7. They know the 6.5 is out there." There's nothing to that, correct?
Absolutely. I mean, for us, like I said, we have the biggest limits, when you talk about sides. And for us, every single half point matters. So, the number that we hang and put on the board is the number that we want to trade the game at. Obviously, as you get a little bit higher, into the 8.5, 9, 9.5 range, there may be a little bit of teaser protection in terms of, if you want to shade, a half a point higher, half a point lower. But typically, generally, anything touchdown or less, the number you hang on the board is the number that you want to confidently book the game and take bets at.
You mentioned the Tua MVP stuff, so I actually didn't even know that you guys had MVP market up, but Jeff tweeted that you guys do have MVP and a couple other awards markets up. I love awards markets, and one of the reasons that I love it is stuff you don't see in the sides and total or many other NFL markets. I mean, we're sitting here talking about half points and -115 versus -110 as big discrepancies across books in the sides and total game. I mean, Jeff had and Circa had Tua as like the 3rd or 4th, whereas FanDuel had Tua as the favorite to be the MVP. So I assume there's going to be people looking to arb across these markets and stuff. What made you guys want to put up awards markets, and what do you think about all the arbing or whatever's going on across these markets?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the NFL's king. These award markets, whether it's MVP, Coach of the Year, Rookie of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, they're just so popular, and they're so narrative-based.
Starting route to 159 Taylor Street.
Change very quickly from week to week. And as you alluded to, when you look at these different books, places take a position on certain things, whether that's, their opinion on it.
In a quarter mile, the destination is on your right, 159 Taylor Street.
Whether that's the bet they're seeing or sort of a combination of both. So, you can find really good prices, if you're looking across a number of different books, that you can get access to. The guy who hangs our NFL, all of our NFL markets, a direct quote from him was he said that Tua being favored in the MVP market was a total joke.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about Tua and the Dolphins, obviously last year they came out blazing hot, looked really, really good, and then obviously he got hurt.
The destination is on your right, 159 Taylor Street. Arrived.
I think to some degree this is also a team award. You're probably going to need him to get 11, 12, 13 wins. So this is also sort of a little bit of a bet on the Dolphins as well. I don't even know that they're the best team in their own division yet.
Yellow.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I just wanted to call and see how you were doing before we go.
Oh, how's your morning going?
It's going okay. It's up the bathroom. My vertigo hasn't started acting up yet, though.
Well, that's a good thing.
I know. This is just like we're seeing Dr. Samuels at 11. And like we've gotten there at 11 and waited until 2 before. So I'm just really not looking forward to that. I wonder if I should call there and ask if he's on time.
I don't know.
I don't either. A lot of people, but it's weird. There's nobody in the waiting room usually. But the people that I have seen in the waiting room, like maybe 2 or 3 other times I've seen someone in the waiting room. I just think he doesn't get there. Because I've heard them and they're saying, no, he's not here yet. Yeah. And they're always like, oh my God, I have waited here for 4 hours before. And I was like, me too.
Yeah.
But it got sunny out and I got excited and now it's all cloudy and windy.
It's supposed to be rainy today.
Well, the sun was just out, but then it went away. How's your morning going?
It's okay.
Yeah? Well, you got a nice clean truck, don't you?
I do.
That must feel good. You know what? I think I'm gonna get... I think that I should probably wear my raincoat today, don't you?
I would maybe keep it with you.
Okay. Okay. I'm talking to Dad.
Oh, I should probably turn off his camera. I've had it going all morning.
Oh, you have?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Okay. All right, babe. Well, listen, I'll let you go. I just wanted to say good morning.